Are you looking to remodel a dollhouse? Are you wondering what items you're going to need? Probably. Then this is the video for you. Now, I'm not an expert and you're not required to buy these things. I'm not going to like go to your house and be like, you must buy these things or else. But you will probably need them at some point in time when you're remodeling a dollhouse. So this can serve as a good resource for you. But again, you're your own individual. You can do what you want. You don't have to buy any of these things, but you'll probably be missing items. It's like, yeah, you probably should just watch this video and like follow it. But again, your choice. Hello people of the internet and welcome back to my channel. I do want to add a quick disclaimer before we even get started. The sun is ruining my life today. I set my settings on the camera and then I swear like the sun comes out and ruins everything and then it goes behind a cloud. Then it comes out and then it ruins everything. It just... So if the lighting fluctuates throughout the video, it's not my fault, I promise. But just in case you're new here, I am currently remodeling a KidCraft dollhouse, and I bought it on Facebook Marketplace. I took it apart, I've been working on it, it's looking great. But that's why I feel like this video could be helpful for anyone else out there who's looking to remodel a dollhouse but doesn't really know what things they may need. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys and discussing items that I feel are going to be essential for remodeling a dollhouse. There are a couple things here that you may not necessarily need but are helpful to have, and I will specify that as I go along, but most of the items here you probably will need at some point, so I hope that this video is helpful for you guys. Before we get started, I do want to just note that I did kind of organize the list that I have here into 4 different categories, so if you are looking for like a certain category you can skip ahead if you want, but otherwise I would recommend watching the whole thing just so that you can get a good overview of the things. So the 4 categories that we are going to be looking at are paint, tools, adhesive, and building materials. And we're going to go ahead and start with paint. So to paint a dollhouse, you are of course going to need paint. I feel like that's obvious. But not just any paint, you are specifically going to want latex paint. Latex paint is the kind of paint that you would use if you were painting a house, whether it's the outside or the inside. You're not going to want to use acrylic paint, which is another type of paint that you are going to be needing, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But latex paint specifically, you are going to want to use if you are going to paint the walls of the dollhouse, whether that's the inside or the outside. I would recommend actually getting sample sized jars because I feel like if you buy a big giant can, you're going to have a lot of excess paint. So just buy the little sample cans. So the specific ones that I was using are from Glidden, but I feel like you could use probably any brand. It's just a dollhouse. And specifically, I'm using satin paint. There are different finishes of paint, but I feel like satin is a good one. You can actually go on Home Depot's website and you can pick out your sample size cans of paint and they will actually deliver them to you for free. No, this is not sponsored by Home Depot, but if they want to sponsor me, they totally can, and they should, honestly. Reach my email, please hit me up. Another type of paint that may be useful for some of you guys depending on what you're doing is spray paint. I use spray paint for my dollhouse to spray paint furniture because Barbie furniture, a lot of times it's pink. And listen, I love pink, but like not all the time do I want a pink fridge and a pink toilet and a pink bed and a pink toilet paper. Now I don't have any cans of spray paint to actually show you guys because I use them all up, but the kind that I use is something that looks like this. It's from this brand. I'll have like a picture of what kind of spray paint I was using, and I think I also use satin for that as well. As I mentioned earlier, you are also going to need acrylic paint. Trust me, just at some point in your dollhouse remodeling process, you are going to want to paint something. I just used Apple Barrel and Folk Art paint. They're cheap and they work. It's a dollhouse. So if you're going to paint like the outside of the dollhouse or the walls, you're gonna want not like these kinds of paintbrushes, like the little craft ones. You're gonna want a good like hardware store quality paintbrush. I actually got these ones and I never used them. But I actually ended up using a roller. I got these from Home Depot. It's actually like a little tray where you would roll the roller like on the tray to get, you know, excess paint off, and it was perfect because they're super cheap and it comes with the tray and the roller. But you could also use a brush. Like I said, I didn't even end up using mine, but if you are gonna paint, you're gonna want one of those things. Now for acrylic paint, you're gonna want to use craft paint brushes, and I have a bunch of them, so I would recommend getting them in a bunch of different sizes. Now I actually don't have the primer that I use with me, but I will insert like a picture or a clip of the one that I used. I literally went to Home Depot and I had to explain to the guy, yeah, so I'm painting a dollhouse. And he kind of like looked at me like I was insane. But then he helped me pick out a primer and I said, okay, great. And I bought it. And it was expensive, by the way. I'm not going to lie, but you're definitely going to want a primer and follow the instructions on the primer that you buy so that way you can do that before you even pay. The last few things in this category are things that I guess you necessarily don't have to have, but like you probably should. The first one is a drop cloth. I painted outside on my driveway and I wanted to protect my driveway, so I want to get paint on it. You could also maybe even use like a plastic tablecloth. Regardless, you're going to want something to lay down on your surface. So I would consider that actually kind of an essential because you don't want paint everywhere. Another thing that's really helpful to have is painter's tape. It's over here. Not masking tape, that's really important. Painter's tape specifically. That pretty much concludes the paint category. Now we're going to move on to a pretty big category, and this is tools. Starting out with a bare essential that I feel like everybody has at their house, and you will definitely need it. Scissors. Speaking of cutting things, it is also very helpful to have an X-Acto knife. Now, a little disclaimer, of course, there's a couple things I'm going to mention in this category that are sharp, and so don't use these things by yourself if you are a child. Definitely get an adult to help you, but if you are an adult, you know, hobbyist, then you can handle it, I think. If you are going to be using an X-Acto knife, you will also need a cutting mat, which I have a couple in my room. I'm too lazy to get up and show you. Another thing that I'm going to highly recommend: cut-resistant finger cots. Now, I know you're thinking, what is a finger cot? I'm going to show you. They're basically like little sleeves that you put on your fingers, and the ones that I have, it comes with a full set, so you can cover all of your fingers. And you might be wondering, Kiana, why are you recommending this? So, long story short, right in the beginning of when I was remodeling the dollhouse, I was using an X-Acto knife, and I accidentally cut the tip of my finger, and I learned the hard way ultimately that you should definitely protect your fingers, because all it takes is like a split second for you to cut yourself. So just please do yourself a favor and just get something like this. You are also going to need various measuring tools. So the first one obviously is a ruler, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, just go ahead and get a metal ruler. Yeah, you could use a plastic one, but if you're cutting with like an X-Acto knife, for example, and you're cutting against the ruler, if you're using plastic, the knife might like cut through the plastic. A couple of other measuring things that aren't necessarily required, but I have found them helpful personally, so I do want to recommend them. The first thing is an L-shaped ruler. As you can see, it helps you get a perfect like 90-degree angle, and of course this one is also metal and it was also cheap. I also liked using these triangles. Now these ones are plastic, so I'm sure you could probably just get a metal one, but I have actually found these ones to be fine. Basically, they're just like this. Again, it helps you get a 90-degree angle, but I like these also because they are clear, and so if, let's say, I'm trying to get a straight line, I can like line up the bottom edge here with my paper, and then, you know, it will help to get a straight line. I also have found it helpful to have a combination square. Again, this isn't like absolutely required, but they're so cheap that like it doesn't hurt to have them, and again, they can be helpful. A combination square, in layman's terms, is a ruler that has a level on the bottom, which we're going to be talking about levels in just a second, but it helps to also, again, get like straight lines. And lastly, for measuring, a measuring tape also comes in handy as well. Speaking of levels, get yourself a level. I actually really like these little tiny ones. You can get these from the hardware store. I think I actually got these with like some furniture or something. But I like having these tiny ones, especially because if I'm doing something like building a bookshelf for the dollhouse, I can put this little tiny level on the little shelf as I'm trying to glue it, just so that I can get the shelf level. But definitely get one of these. You are going to need it if you are going to be building furniture. If you're not going to be building furniture or like building any little things, then you might not need it, but if you are, definitely get them. These next couple things, I'm going to tell you right, just buy them, okay? Don't even like hesitate, just buy them. Okay, if you are going to be building anything for your dolls, furniture, accessories, like stuff like that, get yourself some clamps. Say it with me, clamps. Get them right now. So there are a few different kinds of clamps that I have used that I have found to be helpful, and they're each good for different things. So the first type are these like metal clamps that have rubber tips. And then the second type are little plastic ones like this. And then the third type are these, which I think are referred to as bar clamps. I could be wrong on that, but bar clamps, let's start with this one. So these bar clamps, you can adjust the size. So if I hold down this lever, I can adjust how wide I need it to be. And the ones that I got are the smallest ones. You won't need like a giant one. As you can see, like this one can accommodate, you know, a good size for like doll stuff. But then you would use this button right here to tighten it. And the other two essentially do similar things. All in all, clamps help to hold things together while you are gluing, because here's the thing about glue. It's going to take some time for it to set and fully cure. So clamps just help you keep them together while it's gluing so that it doesn't fall apart. And that's why I say just go ahead and get them, because I was getting so frustrated building doll furniture and having things fall apart when I'm trying to glue. So just get some clamps. Once I got clamps, I was like, my life has changed. I would definitely recommend getting these ones for sure, because like I said, you can adjust them. These other two are also really inexpensive, just like the bar clamp. And these ones, I feel like, depending on what you're doing, one might be better than the other. These metal ones, I feel like, has a really tight clamp on there. And so for some things, like if you're, you know, gluing like thin wood, sometimes these might be too strong, but then the plastic ones don't have as tight of a clamp. So does that make sense? Like, just honestly, just get all three. They're really inexpensive, and I even got them on sale at a local hardware store. Another thing that I have found very helpful are miter snips. Now, I'm gonna add a massive disclaimer here. As I mentioned with the X-Acto knife, if you are an adult, you know, you can use them, but if you are a minor, a child, please don't like buy something like that. Well, do kids even have money? I don't know. Miter snips are essentially a sharp blade that's on top of this plate here, and so sharp blade, I feel like that should be, you know, enough said. And I'm also going to add another little safety piece of information here, that because it is a sharp blade on top of this plate thing, be very careful. And actually something that happened to me a few weeks ago is I actually cut myself like between the fingers because I wasn't really paying attention. I was cutting like this and I was like holding something and then I cut myself. So just be very, 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 very careful with these. But these essentially allow you to cut things like strips of wood or small pieces of wood. And for the dollhouse, that is really, really helpful, especially if you don't have like something like a saw. But just be very, very careful, guys, please. Another thing I have that I wouldn't say is an essential at all, but it is kind of nice to have, if you can get one, is a rotary tool. I got this one at Amazon and I really like it. I actually have this already because I make jewelry, so it's something that I already had on hand. But if you're making something like doll furniture, or if you want to, like, let's say attach like hooks inside of your dollhouse somewhere, it helps you have just a little like drill where you can just drill like a pilot hole or something. But this is absolutely not essential, but I just thought I would mention it just in case, you know, depending on what you're doing. It also helps to have sandpaper if you are going to be building little things in your dollhouse. I actually like this sandpaper stick because that way, you know, you don't have to hold like a sheet of sandpaper. You can just use that. Moving on to adhesive, aka sticky things like glue. So I want to emphasize something here. I feel like this is kind of crafting 101. Basically, here's the thing. Different adhesives work better for different things. Repeat after me. Therefore, you're going to need different adhesives for sure. And depending on what you're doing, that may require a different type of glue. So let me show you guys some of the like main types of glue that you're going to need. First and foremost, it is very helpful to have wood glue, especially if you're going to be building your own furniture like I did. I built a lot of furniture for my dollhouse out of wood. So if you are going to be doing anything involving wood, get yourself some wood glue. Now these are kind of like basic wood glues that you can just get at any store. I got these from Walmart, but you can get them anywhere. Now the first one is just your basic wood glue, like Gorilla Glue. It's a very popular one. Another popular one is Elmer's, I think. But here is my holy grail of wood glue. It is Titebond Quick and Thick. I like this glue a little bit better than Gorilla Glue, only because I feel like it sets a little bit faster. It's supposed to be 2 times faster and 3 times thicker than traditional wood glue. I would recommend this one, not sponsored, unless they could totally sponsor me. It also helps to have a fabric glue if you're going to be making things like bedding for your dollhouse or pillows, you know, anything like that. A common one that people like to use is Fabri-Tac, which at my local craft store I could only find Fabri-Fix, but I looked it up and Google said it's like the same thing. And then you're also going to want a good general purpose glue. General purpose just meaning that like you can use them on multiple different things. Like I said, if you're going to be using wood, you would want to use wood glue. If you're using fabric, you'd want to use fabric glue. But a general purpose glue will help you with a variety of different things. A popular one that a lot of people like to use is tacky glue, so I do have that, and it's pretty cheap. My personal favorite though has been Beacon 3-in-1. I got it at my local craft store, and I really like it. Another glue that a lot of people use for their crafts, and is also a glue that I always keep on hand in my craft drawer, E6000. Now E6000 is an industrial strength glue, so it's very strong. It also has a really strong smell, and you want to use it in a ventilated area. This is also why I say that different glues work better for different things, because like you may not always need to use E6000 given that it is so strong. You may just be fine using like tacky glue or something like this, but for some things, E6000, something where you want something that's a really strong bond, this one can be nice to have on hand. If you're going to be hanging things up in your dollhouse, like picture frames, you know, anything, posters, little stuff like that, I also recommend having mounting squares and mounting tape. And I also recommend mounting putty, which this one that I have, it says that it's removable. I'll be the judge of that eventually, but definitely get like removable putty and not permanent. But this can come in handy for hanging up like little paper things, and I find that the mounting tape comes in handy for hanging up like solid stuff like shelves or something that has a little bit of weight to it. I've used a lot of this stuff. And lastly, it does help to have a glue gun. Now I'm going to be honest, I hate using a glue gun, and I think I used a glue gun maybe once in my entire dollhouse renovation journey, but it does come in handy, and I feel like it's something that everybody has on hand, so why not mention it? Last category is going to be building materials. Now this category isn't really going to be relevant to everyone. I would recommend, you know, if you are going to renovate a dollhouse, try building something, you know, yourself, like build furniture or like a bookshelf. A bookshelf is furniture. I don't know why I had to like add those as separate things, but you don't have to. You of course don't have to build like your own furniture and stuff. I do have a small little list of materials that can be helpful for that. So the first big one that we're going to be talking about is craft wood. If you go to a store like Michael's, Hobby Lobby, whatever it may be, there's always going to be little wood things that you can use, and I would highly recommend checking out those aisles because you can find really useful stuff. Because I don't know about you, I'm not going to go in the backyard and like cut down a tree and then like process it to use. Just buy like pre-cut things, okay? So as an example of some of the stuff that you can find, if you go to the craft store, you'll find things like this. These are like wood pieces that are pre-cut and ready to use. You can, you know, if you have a saw, you can get these cut even smaller. I don't have that, but you know what I mean? Like you could use something like this and build like a, you know, a dining table. That's what I did. You can build all sorts of stuff. So just get stuff like this. I also have like this big scrap bag of a bunch of wood pieces. This is just scraps made up of all things that I have found at craft stores. So, you know, after I like cut things with my X-Acto knife, I will put scraps in here. That way, in case in the future, if you need a little scrap piece of wood, you have that. It's also helpful to have things like wooden dowels in various different sizes. So like as you can see here, I have some thicker wood dowels and I also have skinny ones. Also having popsicle sticks comes in handy as well. You can use thicker ones or thinner ones. These are also little craft sticks I found at the craft store. And then also having wood shapes. Like if you go to the craft store, there's always a variety of wood shapes that you can get. So for example, like these wood rectangles, I actually used these for making dining chairs, like little, like the seats. I also have like wood flowers, wood hearts, wood bows, these are vintage, and then wood circles. So just a variety of different shapes that you can repurpose and use for whatever it is that you're building. I do want to go back to the scrap wood thing that I mentioned. So when you go to the craft stores, most of the wood that you're going to see is basswood, balsa, and plywood. These are all like thin types of woods that are fine for the dollhouse, and I also like them because you can use an X-Acto knife to cut out what you need. So you don't have to have a saw for building doll furniture, but again, just be careful if you're using an X-Acto knife. Get yourself some of those finger cuts and you'll be good to go. Another thing that's also helpful to have while you're renovating your dollhouse is paper, you know, decorative paper that you can use for like wallpaper, you know, whatever it may be. I would also recommend getting contact paper. Contact paper is basically like rolls of paper that have an adhesive backing on it. Now I'm going to tell you right now, when I had to add contact paper to my dollhouse's floors, I wanted to scream. I'm just gonna be real upfront and honest, because I wanted to scream so much that I said to myself, I don't ever want to use contact paper ever again. I don't know if it was just that specific kind that I had, but it was just Air Bubble City. But then I tried other types of contact paper and I didn't have that problem. So I don't, maybe it was just the one that I had. I think the one that I had was like something I got from Home Depot, and yeah, it was a nightmare to use, but like this other stuff has been a breeze. Like this is vintage contact paper. I use this on my Dollhouse's walls, and I think it's super cute. This one I think I found at like a thrift store. Like it's just marble that I used in various parts of my dollhouse. So just get some, honestly. It's great to use for floors, but like I said, you can also use some for like wallpaper too. I would also recommend having foam board, which I have some in the back here. I just hit my finger on the thing. But yeah, get some foam board. Again, it's another cheap thing. You can even get it at like the grocery store, and it's nice to have for certain things. You could even build furniture out of it if you wanted to. So that I think is everything that is on my list. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. If you have anything that you feel is helpful for renovating a dollhouse, feel free to add it in the comments to help your fellow viewers. And I hope that this video was helpful for someone. Sorry if I'm like rambling. I am rambling, in fact. So sorry about that. But I hope that this is helpful for you guys. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments and I will help you out. And be sure to also check out my Dollhouse series that I have going on. It's just a few parts long, and you can actually see me renovate the dollhouse and kind of explain my process and all that stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Bye, guys!